Hey, it's EfreetEater. How's it going today? Just this past weekend was the Pittsburgh Retrogaming convention. It was a fairly large event at the Ace Hotel in Pittsburgh in East Liberty. There were a lot of vendors there, but there were not a lot of events, and I think there should have been a few more. There was a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament, Street Fighter V tournament, an NBA Jam tournament, and the NES Gauntlet, which consisted of Tetris, Burger Time, and Starship Hector, and it was sort of a summation of your score there. I wish there had been a few more events, but what can you do? Pittsburgh Retrogaming is a growing community, and you can check it out down below. I'll have the link to the Facebook group. The event was put on by both the Facebook group and another company called Mega Cat Studios that I've had some interesting interactions with in the past, but let's not get into that. Anyway, here's some of the cool stuff I did get from the vendor area. I got a bunch of PlayStation games, as you would expect. Blazing Dragons, a game I've been looking for since I saw it at the Exchange. It features a lot of British comedians. It's kind of like Monty Python, and it's a funny adventure game. I think it was a British TV show. I got Harvest Moon Back to Nature. It's kind of like the N64 Harvest Moon, which was one of my favorite games. I really love that game, so I think I'll really like this game. And I have been looking for this for a little bit, not too long. And yeah, Harvest Moon, great. You farm and you farm and you talk to the villagers, and it's kind of a slower paced game about the little things. These next two games, this one still has a terrible sticker on it, I have often associated with each other, and I'm not really sure why. For a while, I was not sure if this game, Evil Zone, was called the name of this game, Karsha, the Word of Fate. And it's not. It's called Evil Zone, and this is actually a fighting game, but it kind of looks like an RPG, or, you know, like, I don't know, anime art. I usually think of like RPGs with PlayStation, unless they're Street Fighter or Darkstalkers. And this is not by Capcom, it's actually by something called Titus Corporation, which I've never heard of. But yeah, it's a fighting game, kind of a 3D fighter. Kind of reminds me of Tobal No. 1, just from the art. And then the other game that I said I associate with it, Karsha, the Word of Fate, is an Atlas RPG/sim. And it has art from Yoshitaka Amano, which is pretty cool. He did the art for Final Fantasy. And it looks like it's kind of like a strategy RPG. It's one of these big boxes, but with just like a huge manual. Karsha. Alright, I had to do a quick adjustment there. But here's some other PlayStation things. I also got one more long box. Williams Arcade's Greatest Hits. Along with some of the other ones I got, this means I only need 13 more. So this is pretty impressive. I like that it has a receipt from Half Price Books. But they only paid $4.27, but I paid $10. There's that. And it's all in there. There you go, there's a CD. It's actually in, like, pretty much perfect condition. Not exactly, but very good condition. Ooh. There's actually a hole in there. That's really weird. Anyway, other than that, it's pretty good condition. And here's one of the best things I got. The PlayStation Developers Demo CD. This is... wow. This isn't your average CD, it says. I love this because it's clearly... I mean, it's a very early demo that came with the PlayStation. I don't know a ton about it. I assume this might have been the original Interactive Sampler CD. But it has some hot audio CD tracks from some great Sony bands. The Dag, Korn, Mother May I, and Dandelion. And they're actually pretty cool. It's very early 90s type of stuff. Well, I guess it's mid-90s, 95. And it has a kind of like an attitude to it and some of the other aspects. It's a double-tapped, fully loaded audio and interactive experience for your CD player and, better yet, your new Sony PlayStation. And basically it has a lot of different sort of like examples of effects the Sony PlayStation can do. So it has examples of like FMVs and different character models, textures, like the amounts of characters you can have on the screen, sounds, different effects. It's actually really great, and I think it would have really shown the power of the console back then. But right now it's just a really interesting piece of ephemera, and I can't wait to show you more about it. Alright, moving on, I got this Super Nintendo game, Out to Lunch. I only recently heard about this game. You play as a chef. I have a weird affinity for games about chefs. Either games where you cook, or games where you play as a chef just being in a side-scroller. So, yeah, Out to Lunch. I haven't actually played it yet, but it looks pretty fun. Look at that guy there. Here are 2 Sega Genesis games. I already had these games, but I got the boxes, and I was able to trade the games right then and there for a few things. I actually traded this Mighty Max game, the cartridge, for this Game Boy bag. And this Game Boy bag is perfect because it can hold my Game Boy Pocket. And a new thing I just started getting back into after I discovered I can move the files to my computer, the Game Boy camera. And you can also fit some other games in there too. I was trying to buy a Game Boy Light, but I missed it. I went home for a little bit, and I came back to the convention, and I missed it. And I was thinking, oh, I'll be able to put my Game Boy Light in there, but it's alright. Maybe I'll get one at a later time. I shouldn't have been spending that kind of money anyway, so it's okay. And also in the back, this relates to PlayStation, I almost forgot. I got this very generic memory card. This is like the most generic memory card I have ever seen, and I have quite a few PlayStation memory cards. And I'll show you those in a little bit. But I told the guy that I just really liked this, and he said, oh, why don't you just take it? Thank you. I don't know who you were, but thank you for giving me this. It actually is really cool, and I love it. Anyway, the point is, oh, listen to that Velcro sound. The point is I can take this around like a little camera bag and take pictures. So here we go. It's empty as of now. Like I said, I traded the game and there was no manual in here. So there's my manual from when I was a kid. And there's the game. A little bit dusty. But I'll get it cleaned up. This isn't really one of my favorite Sega games, but I do want to complete all of the games I had as a kid that my grandmother sadly threw away all the cases and boxes for. So, we'll get to that. Even if it means buying cases for games that aren't really that great by Ocean Software. But yeah, Adventures of Mighty Max. The other Sega game I got, again, mostly for the case, still a sticker on here, was this game, Ranger X. This was always one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. Get rid of that sticker. Alright, now, the second Sega Genesis game I got, again, mostly for the box, was this game, Ranger X. And this is like an action side-scroller game where you control this guy, who it says is part man, part machine, all hero. Ranger X. And he has a little vehicle that goes along with him, and this was always one of my favorite games for Sega Genesis because the graphics were just amazing. The colors resembled a lot of the stuff you would see in the same, like, mid-early 90s anime, like Ghost in the Shell, or Akira, or Cyber City. And it was really fun. There were really interesting bosses. There was one guy I always thought looked like a big psychic mutant potato. And here inside, I actually traded my childhood copy because it was in slightly worse condition, and the childhood manual. But here you go. It's the whole version. And what I traded that for, you will see in just a second. It was not these things. These are 3 Game Boy games. I got Tamagotchi 2 in the box. yellow cartridge. I don't know. I guess I could open it up. There you go. There's the manual, and there's the yellow cartridge, which with the nice art. It's kind of like a little kid drew it. And I also got Momotaro Dentetsu Jr. And I know there's more of a subtitle to that too. This is actually a board game in Japan. It's pretty long running. It was made by Hudson Soft. And it actually came to an end sometime down the line. But it's about it's about like transport. For different planes and trains and automobiles and all of that good stuff. Sizes of the boxes. It's kind of interesting. These are both Japanese games. I have a mild understanding of Japanese, very mild. I also got this. This is pretty interesting. It's a box of mints. Game Boy Bomberman mints. Isn't that cool? I'm gonna get a mint right now. Hell? This isn't a mint? Well, I guess Bomberman Collection. It's not a mint. I actually knew this was a game, but it's funny. I really love this little tin. You know, it has the manual, which is sort of like a little brochure here. And this is 3 games. Like I said, it's Bomberman Collection. So it's actually 3 games. Bomberman Game Boy, Bomberman Game Boy 2, and Bomber Boy. And these games were released much differently in America. Bomber Boy was called Atomic Punk, and Bomberman Game Boy was actually never released. The Bomberman Game Boy we had here was Bomberman Game Boy 2. I don't have Atomic Punk, so this should be pretty cool. Quick word about Game Boy games, Game Boy boxes. This is an American box for Game Boy Advance and for Game Boy. They look like this. They're very standard squares, but in Japan they're much smaller, which I kind of like. They're also in very different sizes, and there's this. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. The Famicom games are kind of like that too. They're all different box sizes. So, I don't know. Check it out. There's also another Japanese Game Boy game I have. It's not, well, it's the same size as the Tamagotchi game, but it's a different size than the other 2 games. I don't know. Also doesn't fit in this box very well. What can you do? I really love the art on these Japanese Game Boy games. Finally, there's this. I got this thing. It's a big plug. Is it an omen of some sort?